I once gave Sincere a Unimog RV, also known as the Noah's Ark in the Apocalypse. It symbolized that Sincere was an extraordinary presence to me. When I was 12, my father passed away suddenly in a car accident and my uncles fought with me for the inheritance. In the midst of this upheaval, Sincere, as a lawyer, stepped forward to help me. He also took on the responsibility of raising me until I came of age. During this period, he was like a father, a brother, a teacher, and a friend to me. On my 18th birthday, Sincere gave me a duplex villa as a coming-of-age gift. On my 19th birthday, my confession of love failed. Sincere said to me, "Turning a family member into a lover makes me sick with your infatuation." Later, he took another woman camping in the Unimog. Finally, hadn't fulfilled I gave up and stopped pining for him. I also started trying to accept new people. But then he came back to me. The one who had once pleaded with me not to confuse love with kinship made the same request of me again. Only this time, he hoped that I could love him. But I had already done as he wished and retreated to the position of a family member. I said to him thoughtfully, "Actually, what you said back then was quite right. Turning a family member into a lover is really disgusting. Since we both know this, let's not bring it up." When I was 12, Sincere took me in and we lived together. During this time, he was like a father, a brother, a teacher, and a friend to me. He cooked for me, bought me clothes, helped me with my schoolwork, and taught me the principles of life. He was 22 years old at that time. Later, every time his salary increased, my living standard improved accordingly. On my 18th birthday, he transferred the ownership of the duplex villa where we lived together to me. He said he wanted me to feel at home. I was extremely excited at that time. I really wanted to have a home with him. When I was 19, I finally realized that I loved him. I also wanted to give him a surprise on his birthday. So I walked to his office with a ring, but at the door, I heard him say to his female assistant, "I don't have any expectations for love. Leona and I have a pure nurturing relationship. There's no romantic feeling between us at all. You guys have been saying that I'm a raising type uncle, and I've been stuck in these rumors for so long. It really shouldn't be like this." I was walking toward Sincere's office door excitedly with the ring. And these were the words I heard. My light-footed, trotting steps stopped abruptly. I started to break out in cold sweat all over my body. And I felt so cold that I wanted to shiver. I lost my mother at a young age. When I was 12, my father had a car accident. In the midst of this disaster, Sincere stood up, helped me deal with those treacherous uncles, and helped me arrange my father's funeral. He once held my shoulders, looked into my eyes, and said to me, "As a poor student, it was your father who had been sponsoring me. Now it's my turn to repay my benefactor. From now on, as long as I have something to eat, you will too." I nodded with tears in my eyes. I knew very well that there weren't many people in this world who knew how to be grateful. On the contrary, there were quite a few who would take advantage of the situation. My second aunt obtained my custody, but she also had difficulties. Sincere saw her plight and offered to let me live with him. Both my second aunt and I felt relieved. Later, I thought back countless times that I should have become dependent on him at that time. And he took care of me meticulously, never seeing me as a burden. My living standard was always higher than his. The clothes, shoes, and socks were always of the best quality, neatly placed there. And I never had to worry about them. No matter how busy he was, there was always a warm meal waiting for me after school. A few years later, the inheritance lawsuit regarding my father finally came to an end. Although the inheritance had shrunk a lot, I still received a sum of money. But Sincere never let me spend a single penny. He was always the one supporting me, providing me with good food and a good life. He gave me a real home. But now, what was he saying? That there was no romantic feeling between us? That my existence dropped him in rumors? It was like I was holding a handful of sand in my hand. The more I tried to hold it tight, the faster it slipped away. I was like a small animal forced into a corner. I didn't have time to lick my wounds, and could only make a hasty choice. I knocked on the door hard and without waiting for a response. I pushed the door open and walked in. Sincere was sitting in the boss's chair, and Scarlett was sitting across the desk from him. The atmosphere between the two of them was very relaxed and leisurely. And I, on the other hand, looked extremely flustered. Seeing me come in, Sincere maintained a smile and sat up straight. Scarlett was very perceptive and left, closing the door behind her before she left. I walked up to Sincere and said to him with a smile, "Sincere, happy birthday." I knelt down on one knee, raised a plain ring in my hand, and said to Sincere, "This is a birthday gift. I've been preparing it for a long time. And also, here I am." At that time, my heart was full of him, and the piety in my eyes was almost overflowing. I pretended not to have heard his conversation with Scarlett just now and stubbornly wanted to hold on to him. I blinked my eyes, full of hope, waiting for an answer. "Will you be my boyfriend?" He slightly frowned, looking extremely surprised, and for a moment, he forgot how to answer. He turned his face to the side, accidentally revealing his embarrassment. A stone in my heart dropped to the ground. The nightmare had come true, and despair was stimulating every cell in my body. Before the tears could flow out, Sincere helped me up. "Silly girl. You're at an age when you love to dream. You're just projecting your fantasy of love onto me," he said in a gentle voice, trying to persuade me. But the softer his tone was, the more piercing it sounded to me. My confession ended in failure. It just fizzled out. Sincere drove me home. All the way, heading till Sildwyde session. My body was stiff, and my expression was wooden. Sincere didn't talk and laugh with me as usual. His eyes were still gentle, but his whole body was surrounded by an aura that kept strangers away. It was so oppressive that I could hardly breathe. The car sped all the way and arrived at the doorstep. Back home, I went straight to my living room. This duplex villa was bought by Sincere after he became successful. My bedroom has its own bathroom and living room. I sat on the sofa, still in shock, feeling extremely sad. Sincere brought me a glass of milk. He paused at the door first and then walked up to me. His expression was gentle, but his tone carried a hint of distance. "I think you've made a mistake. You're extremely dependent on me and have mistaken kinship for love. You're still young. When you grow up, you'll understand that you'll meet someone better. Someone who will cherish you as much as I do. When you meet that person, you'll know that that's love. And what you feel for me is just an illusion." I looked at him in disbelief, my eyes full of pain, making him feel uncomfortable. He stood up and started pacing back and forth. After walking around twice, he finally said, "You're still young. What you need most right now is not me, but time." Looking at his resolute back as he left, my tears finally welled up and spilled out. When I got up in the morning, Sincere hadn't woken up yet. I cooked breakfast for him for the first time. Although he might not need me to do this, I was not willing to give up. I had been learning to cook for a while, hoping to show off my skills on his birthday. But yesterday, he said he had something to do and wouldn't be home. It turned out he was celebrating with his colleagues. I placed the cooked food on the table and looked at the clock. At this time, Sincere hadn't gotten up yet. It was almost time for school, and I couldn't wait for Sincere, so I left home in a hurry. I went to a local university and didn't live on campus. When I came home in the evening, I found that the breakfast was still intact on the table. Sincere hadn't touched his chopsticks. He didn't accept my kindness. Even staying in bed in the morning, it seemed like he was deliberately avoiding me. I slumped on the sofa, feeling disheartened and frustrated. The housekeeper came to clean up the dishes and started preparing dinner. There was a noise at the door, and Sincere actually came home early. My heart skipped a beat. Had he changed his mind? When Sincere entered the door, his face looked a bit unnatural, with a hint of gloom. Looking at my slightly surprised face, he avoided my gaze. Then tu l'en alone serai. As if having made up his mind, he looked at me again and said, "Leona, I've thought about it. Our living together like this all the time has an impact on both of our reputations. When you grow up and don't need me anymore, I should step back. Always being around you is not good for either of us. I came back today to pack my luggage. Don't be sad. The bond between us is unparalleled. After saying that, without waiting for my response, he started packing his luggage on his own, leaving me standing there dumbfounded. He organized and packed very quickly. Although it was a hasty decision, everything was in order, and he soon finished packing. He was elegant, straightforward, and capable. He had always been like this. He had excellent oratory skills. He didn't talk much but was good at logic, always able to get to the point and hit the nail on the head. It was said that he was a fearsome presence in the debate field. He was also the object of admiration for many girls. But he was always cold-hearted towards them. This gave me the illusion that he was waiting for me to grow up. In fact, it wasn't the case. I was no different from any of his admirers. What a ridiculous realization. Before leaving, he glanced at me, as if afraid that I would pester him, and only said, "I'm leaving. Keep in touch." Then he left without looking back. Without his presence and his things, the room felt empty. A wave of bitterness welled up in my heart, and I closed my eyes. I muddled through the next 2 days. One evening, when I came home, I suddenly found that Sincere had come back, and with him were his luggage. I widened my eyes, looking at this magical scene around me. Sincere gave me a faint smile, casually joking, "Now I need you to take me in. I have nowhere to go. Little girl, it's time to test your conscience." I looked at his handsome eyebrows and eyes, his straight nose, and his tall and straight figure, all of which were the same as in my dreams. He had many properties. How could he be homeless? Was he coming back to me? Just as I was about to smile happily, I saw someone walking out from the shadow behind him. Sincere explained to me. Scarlett, my colleague, had her air conditioner break down in her house. She has nowhere to go and begged me to take her in. The house I'm living in now isn't big enough, and the others are all under lease. So I thought of coming here to squeeze in with you. My mood was like a ball that was suddenly thrown up and then dropped. I reluctantly nodded. The once empty house soon became lively. It was evident that Scarlett wasn't particularly familiar with Sincere. In fact, she seemed a bit in awe of him. When she needed something, she would borrow it from me. And when she had questions, she would ask me, not daring to bother Sincere much. But gradually, they grew closer. Scarlett lived in the guest room. She would squeeze into the study to work with Sincere, and they would drink tea together in the tea house, chatting and laughing merrily. Once, I squeezed juice for everyone. I saw Scarlett pick up Sincere's cup by mistake. I was about to remind her that Sincere had already drunk from it. But it was too late. Scarlett had already raised her head and taken a sip. Under my astonished gaze, she seemed to realize what she had done. When she looked at Sincere, she seemed a bit guilty. And Sincere was looking at her with dissatisfaction. She just raised her eyebrows and playfully stuck out her tongue. And Sincere helplessly shook his head. My heart was filled with anxiety and pain. When Sincere got along with me, he was always so clear-cut, never crossing the line even a little bit. Something like sharing a cup had never happened to me. Now, someone had easily intruded into the territory that belonged to the two of us. And I was overcome with sadness. Afraid that my emotions would show, I stood up and turned back to my room. When Sincere wasn't at home, Scarlett would sometimes wander around, looking at the layout of the rooms. One day, she found an album. The photos in it recorded the places Sincere and I had been to over the years. All over the country. The two of us in our youthful exuberance were full of ambition along the way. Also, heading fulfilled my obsession. The gifts Sincere gave me on my birthday every year. At first, he put a lot of thought into them. And later, he was very generous with money. The album and the gifts were all in a box. After Sincere left home, I took them out to reminisce about the past. Sincere and Scarlett moved in a hurry, and I didn't have time to put them away. At the moment, Scarlett was sitting in my yoga room, flipping through my personal belongings. The box was carelessly opened, and things were scattered everywhere. Before I could get angry after entering the room, she started lecturing me. "Leona, you're so caught up in love all day long. I look down on you. At your age, my father had already helped me arrange an internship. I happened to be looking for Sincere when you confessed to him the other day. I was standing outside the door. My mother said that the most important thing for a girl is to be reserved. How can a girl chase after a man? Look at you. Acting like a little wife. Being so pitiful all day long. You're trying to win men's sympathy. I was only 19 years old at that time. And I had been out of the ivory tower for just over a year. I couldn't keep up with the arguments of these worldly people. Once, when I was shopping in a mall and washed my hands in the bathroom, splashed water on the sink, the cleaning aunt sneered at me. You look decent. But why are you so unqualified? I didn't know how to respond and ran out with red eyes. At that age, people like to eat, drink, laugh, play around, and have fun. But they just didn't know how to retort. Hearing Scarlett say this, I felt wronged in my heart. But I couldn't say anything. Tears of frustration welled up in my eyes. Just then, right on a low sigh, Sincere came in. He first noticed that I was crying and quickly comforted me. Leaning down so that our foreheads touched, he gently stroked my cheek with his hand and wiped away my tears. He treated me like a treasure. Stop crying. You're not a child anymore. When he turned to look at Scarlett, his gaze was very unfriendly, and his tone was cold and stern. What's going on here? Did you come to someone else's house to bully them? Scarlett angrily got up and gritted her teeth. Sincere. You're really something. Just live your life with your little green tea girl. Scarlett started packing her things noisily, getting ready to leave. And Sincere didn't seem to want to stop her. He didn't even ask where she was going or if she had a place to stay. He just held my arm. Looking guilty. Suddenly, I felt better. That night, Scarlett moved to a hotel. She posted a status on Moments, ambition doesn't depend on age. And the tea-like behavior is the same. At such a young age. She's trying to become a fairy. But there are people who just fall for it. I had the contact information of many people in Sincere's circle, so I could see their conversations on Moments. Scarlett briefly described what happened today. She didn't lie. But the way she told it just sounded off. She said I saw her as a rival in love and that I was jealous of every woman around Sincere. Even the box with the album and gifts was said to be prepared in advance. Deliberately for her to find. In order to make her back off. I might not be her match in a face-to-face confrontation. But in private. After organizing my thoughts. I might be able to fight back. I also left a comment under her Moments. Briefly stating a few points. First, she rummaged through other people's things without permission. The homeowner kindly took her in. But she repaid kindness with ingratitude. There may be misunderstandings. But I didn't cause them. Second, Miss Scarlett said I didn't focus on my studies. But actually, my school teacher said I was overstudying. Which is also a kind of problem. And told me to stop. Third, Miss Scarlett said I'm love-struck and shameless. It's normal for someone my age to want to fall in love. I love someone openly and never hide it. Fourth, Miss Scarlett seems independent. But posting such a moment is actually just like fighting over a man. Sincere liked each of my comments one by one and praised me, saying that I had finally grown up and he was very relieved. I wasn't pleased and retorted. If you hadn't let the wolf into the house, why would I have to endure this humiliation? Despite saying this, I was still glad that he firmly stood by my side, feeling a rush of excitement for a moment. To my surprise, even after all that happened, a few days later, Sincere still invited Scarlett back, pulling at her sleeve and asking her to apologize to me. He said he still wanted her to stay here for a while. For the first time, I looked at Sincere with disappointed eyes. Maybe my gaze was too sharp, and I saw Sincere tremble slightly. Then, he turned his face away uncomfortably and looked at Scarlett. Scarlett reluctantly said to me, Leona, that day was just a misunderstanding. I, as an adult, thought too much. I didn't say anything. Sincere's look towards me seemed to be urging me. As if saying, take the opportunity and make up. I turned around and left. The next morning, only Sincere and I were left in the house. After many days, Sincere finally made me a long-awaited breakfast. I ate restlessly, always feeling something was wrong. Sure enough, While we were eating, Sincere said, "The Unimog RV you gave me. I'm planning to go camping with Scarlett this weekend. She's done a great job recently. And I need to reward her. It's a great season for camping. I'll take you next time." My face instantly turned cold. The Unimog, known as the Noah's Ark of the Apocalypse, is the top of the line in the RV world. The original price is over $4 million. And even though I bought a second-hand one, it still cost me $2,800,000. This was the gift I gave him in return when he gave me the house deed. I hoped he could take me on a world tour. The meaning was also very profound. He was my Noah's Ark in the apocalypse. Thinking of this, my eyes filled with tears. As soon as Sincere saw me crying, he quickly came over to wipe my tears. "Hey, why are you crying? If you don't want me to go, I won't. I'm just discussing it with you. What are you crying for? It's up to you." Scarlett saw my great car and had her eye on it from the start. "I shouldn't have promised her," I said, trembling. "Lie. Sincere, does my feelings really mean nothing to you? I'm not just a girl with a crush. I really like you." Sincere's face instantly stiffened, and he stopped wiping my tears. His hand dropped. He said to me in great disappointment, "Don't defile our kinship. Your confession makes me sick." Then he left without looking back. The next day, having fulfilled my obsession, he packed his luggage and left home again. I sat alone from dusk till dawn. I took out the property certificate of this house. The issue date was my birthday last year. So when he said he would give me a home, it wasn't what I thought. He didn't have any feelings for me at all. The expected RV trip still happened. Scarlett updated her moments. There were the autumn grass, the quiet stream, and the magnificent sunset. The handsome man and the beautiful woman stood beside the amazing luxury car. Every frame was like a beautiful scene. Lying in bed, my heart was in agony. I imagined how happy they were, how they laughed and played, and how affectionate they were. How this trip was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for them. The Noah's Ark I bought was finally no longer my exclusive. It turned out that my heartfelt efforts were in vain, only benefiting others. I went to Sincere's new home to find him. The first snow of this year came unexpectedly. Under the streetel-twide stood a good-looking man and woman, hugging each other warmly. On their heads, in the orange-yellow light, snowflakes were falling in clusters. Like a dream. Today was a perfect day. There was no wind, and the snow fell gently. It was so quiet all around that I could seem to hear the sound of the snow hitting the ground. It was Sincere and Scarlett. I was stunned, my eyes moist, and later it seemed as if they were frozen and turned into ice. I didn't understand what was so special about Scarlett compared to me. She didn't seem that great. So it could be anyone. But never me. It turned out that I was wrong. The snow doesn't make a sound when it lands. That sound was the sound of my heart breaking. Sincere rarely took the initiative to call me. I picked up the phone and said coldly, "Hello." He was obviously not used to it and was stunned for a long time. He coughed lightly and then said with difficulty, "I'm together with Scarlett. From now on, you can just call her sister-in-law. We're going on a trip and this time we'll take you with us to build our relationship." I chuckled. In fact, there was no need for us to have any contact in the future. Being in such a situation would invite criticism and make people wary. Maybe the mockery in my laughter was too obvious. And Sincere asked me, "What's wrong? Leona, you seem off. Are you not feeling well?" I replied lazily, "Sure. Whatever you say. But are you sure I should call her sister-in-law instead of aunt?" Then I laughed again. On the other end of the phone, Sincere said helplessly, "Leona." In the end, I still went with them. Sincere was still the closest person to me in the world, and I couldn't refuse his request. The life-saving ring that the orphan girl grabbed back then was gradually sinking and becoming less reliable, but his charm still remained. The meeting place was arranged at a seaside resort thousands of kilometers away. From the cold winter to the midsummer, it felt like a lifetime away. During this period, I had a chance to be alone with Scarlett. She took out her phone and showed me the chat records between her and Sincere. I glanced at the time. It was during the period when she stayed at my home, had a quarrel with me, and then moved out. The content was as follows. Sincere said, "Have you calmed down? You really went too far that day. We agreed it was all fake. Just for show. To make that girl give up. How could you take it for real?" He was probably referring to the incident when Scarlett looked through my photos and then lectured and rebuked me. "Scarlett, I meant well. On your birthday. When she gave you the ring. I was outside the door. That girl has no sense of reserve at all. She was so abrupt. She needed someone to teach her a lesson. Sincere, let's not argue about who was right or wrong that day. You helped me. And I helped you with your accommodation and even bought you a gift. So stop being so difficult. Okay? Scarlett, no way. Why did you like her post on WeChat Moments? Do you know how sad I was? This is betrayal. You know? Sincere, I asked you to help me make her see the reality. Not to hurt her. Scarlett, it's not easy to control the scale. Maybe we should just give up. Sincere, no. I was wrong. I beg you to keep helping me. I can't watch Leona make mistakes for my sake. I'm here to repay a debt of gratitude. Not to bite the hand that feeds me. Scarlett, then how will you repay me? The original conditions won't work. Your requirements were too high. Sincere, you can name any conditions you want. Scarlett, if I say I've fallen for you too, will you consider me? Sincere didn't answer. Not refusing meant he might consider it. So that's how it was. I was extremely surprised. I never thought Sincere would resort to such tactics to avoid me. At the same time, I felt deeply sad. I had actually become the matchmaker for him and Scarlett. I had, with my own hands, created a beautiful story between Sincere and Scarlett. The thing that was out of my reach, she got so easily. And it was through me. After arriving at the destination, we had a meal at a well-known seafood buffet restaurant. Sincere went to get food first. He, being a gentleman, was going to get fruits and condiments for the two of us. When Sincere came back, he also brought some main courses on the tray for us. I saw that they were all my favorite foods. Then it was my turn and Scarlett's to get food. When we came back, we both brought food for Sincere. And he accepted them with a smile. After I had eaten my first round and was about to get up to get more food, I suddenly noticed Scarlett looking at Sincere with a meaningful smile. I looked over and saw that Sincere had eaten up all the food I brought for him and seemed to still want more. But the food she brought for Sincere was left aside. And the plate of food Sincere got for me had also been eaten up by me long ago. I suddenly thought this woman was really annoying. She was just asking for trouble. Although Sincere and I had a playing relationship over the years, we still had the necessary tacit understanding. The power of time was magical. It had formed a mountain-like relationship between us, which was deeply rooted in my heart. And in the eyes of other women, it was like a sharp thorn in their hearts. I thought it was time to say goodbye. It was time for me to completely and thoroughly withdraw from Sincere's life. When Sincere went to get food, Scarlett and I were left at the table again. I was struggling to peel a conch with my hands. Concentrating. I heard that the conch's brain was poisonous and couldn't be eaten. Suddenly, a heavy object fell into Scarlett's soup across the table. And hot oil splashed onto my hand, making it turn red and swollen in an instant. I looked at Scarlett in surprise. And she looked at me with great apology. Sorry, Leona. I don't know how to peel a conch and it fell into the soup. Are you okay? I knew Scarlett was testing me to see if I would go to Sincere and cry about it. I stood up and walked outside. When I passed by her, I patted her on the shoulder. I'll go deal with this. I won't tell Sincere, but if this happens again, don't blame me for being rude. I'll pay you back tenfold. She blinked her big eyes at me, pretending to be innocent. Since Sincere was determined to get rid of me, I naturally had to help him achieve his wish. As for who he was with, I didn't care. So I didn't want to cause any trouble today, because we wouldn't have any further dealings in the future. Later, when Scarlett saw that I really didn't tell Sincere anything, she felt relieved. During the rest of the journey, she visibly relaxed. And my hand had a big blister. After I pricked it, it hurt badly. I was forced to follow them. On the third day, they wanted to play in the water by the sea. Scarlett thought the beach attached to the hotel had too many people, So she wanted to go to the beach next door. The two beaches were separated by a small hill. After arriving at the beach next door, there were indeed many fewer people. And it was very quiet. With an injury on my hand, I lay on the beach, closing my eyes and resting. In a daze, I fell asleep. I don't know how long it had passed when Sincere came over and woke me up. His tone was urgent, his expression flustered, and he seemed at a loss. "Leona, you're a great swimmer. Hurry and save Scarlett. She doesn't seem to be okay." I quickly got up and walked towards the sea. When I saw the situation in front of me, I was shocked. Scarlett wasn't bobbing up and down with the waves, nor did she show signs of drowning. Instead, she was being carried away by the waves, getting farther and farther from the shore. She could swim and had a life-buoy ball around her waist, commonly known as a buddy float. Under normal circumstances, this shouldn't have happened. I was panicked, and my face went stiff. "Sincere, call the police. I'll go find the lifeguards on the hotel beach. They're nearby. We can't save her. This is a rip current. Only professionals can save her." Sincere became frantic. "There's no time. If something happens to her, how can I explain it to her parents?" With that, he was about to jump into the sea. I quickly stopped him. "Trust me. We really can't save her. This kind of undertow can be deadly." He gave me a deep look, with a fleeting reproach in his eyes. Then, let out a low sigh. He put on a life-buoy and jumped into the sea. He was quickly carried away by the current. He waved his arms, as if asking me for help, or maybe not. Watching him drift farther and farther away, I couldn't care about anything else. I picked up the only remaining arm float sleeves from the beach, put them on, and jumped into the sea too. As soon as I got into the sea, I regretted it. Worry made me lose my judgment. I chose the wrong way to save them. Even though I was a good swimmer, human power was too small in nature. I tried my best but couldn't move an inch towards the intended target. I could only be carried away by the rip current. This current would take me to the deep sea, and the consequences would be disastrous. The fear in my heart grew deeper. For the first time, I was so close to death. I glanced at the two people in the distance and suddenly understood the saying that apart from life and death, everything else is trivial. I wanted to survive. I was still young. The fear of death overwhelmed me, and adrenaline started to kick in. When I was still conscious, I remembered the self-rescue method for a rip current. Swim sideways. No matter how terrifying the power of the rip current is, it's just a reverse current in the normal ocean current. Swimming sideways can get you out of it quickly. I calmed down and swam towards the hotel beach along the coastline. When I got there, I staggered and told the hotel security guard, "Someone over there is caught in a rip current and is being carried farther away. Please rescue them as soon as possible." Then I collapsed on the beach. The whole beach quickly became chaotic. I didn't meddle any further and quickly returned to the hotel. Their lives and deaths were no longer my concern. I wanted to go home. I've suffered enough in Mob because of my youth. I couldn't bear even a little more. I didn't want to see either of them. I left my phone on the beach, so I could only take out my ID and bank card and ask the hotel receptionist to book a flight ticket for me. I also asked the receptionist to call a taxi for me. While I was waiting for the taxi, the hotel reception was bustling with people. A new black taxi came. It seemed to be a top hat taxi. I quickly got in. The driver looked at me like I was an alien. I knew I was dressed messily with my hair disheveled and didn't look presentable. So I said, "Hurry up. There might be a life-threatening situation there. If we don't leave, the police car and ambulance will be here soon." Only then did he start the car. When we arrived at the destination, I found I couldn't pay. While I was hesitating, I touched my pocket and found a ring I had used to confess my love to Sincere. I said to the driver, "The hotel reception should be able to charge it to my account. If not, there's this. It's worth a lot of money." I handed it over. The driver looked at me with a strange expression. I put down the ring and got out of the car and left. I moved out of the villa. The school couldn't allocate a dormitory for me quickly, so I rented a house near the school. When Sincere found me, I was studying by myself. He said he had something to tell me. By this time, I had calmed down. I invited him to a coffee shop, but he drove me to a lake instead. At dusk, the sky was half bright and half dark. The glow of the sunset reflected on his handsome face, making his expression even more unpredictable. The air was still for a long time. Finally, having fulfilled my... He spoke. Leona. I'm sorry. It's my fault that I put your life in danger. I'm from a remote area. It was your father who sponsored me. And it was you who taught me how to swim. I really didn't know what a rip current was. I'm sorry. Can you forgive me? After saying that, there were shiny things twinkling on his face. Were they tears? They actually were tears. Could I forgive him? Forget it. What difference would it make whether I forgave him or not? I was the one who jumped in anyway. I should blame myself. I should find the reason within myself for this matter. It was a chance for growth. But did I really have no resentment at all? I could never forget the look in his eyes. Reproachful, contemptuous, and dissatisfied. At that time, he was like a god. And with just one look, he made me risk my life. So, did I really not blame him? No, I just didn't want to argue with him anymore. I didn't want to get entangled any longer. I nodded stiffly. There was infinite sadness and pain on his face. If you don't want to forgive me, don't force yourself. Keep this debt in mind. I'll pay it back slowly. He wiped his face with his hand and muttered to himself. You clearly warned me. Why didn't I believe you? Then there was a long silence. After a long time, Sincere spoke again to explain. I've never been with Scarlett. It was all for show. To make you believe. She was just cooperating with me. Sometimes she got too involved in the act and hurt you. This is also my fault. It was the result of my indulgence. I came up with a stupid idea. I'm so clumsy in matters of love. After that narrow escape, I thought a lot. Leona, I never expected you to go that far for me. I've let you down too much. And when we were adrift in the sea that day, deep down in my heart, I actually hoped you could survive. As for myself, it didn't matter much. I might have some self-loathing, which is related to the environment I grew up in. Even when our lives were hanging in the balance, I felt a faint sense of regret. I really wanted to have a home with you. You pleaded with me like that. But I missed the chance. I sat there numbly, listening to him rambling on. He had never seemed to tell me so many heartfelt words before, and I was left speechless. At this point, there was nothing left to say between him and me. He took a deep breath, gently stroked his forehead, and tried to gather his thoughts. Leona, great kindness needs no thanks. But proper etiquette should not be overlooked. He took out 2 checks and handed them to me. One was in the name of Scarlett's family, and the other was in his own name. The Scarlett family was generous, and Sincere's amount was even more astonishing. I was taken aback for a moment. Then I took the checks. I'm an orphan girl. And the property my father left wasn't very substantial. Of course, it would be nice to have more money for my future. In the end, the spiritual aspects of love have all but vanished. But if it can be transformed into something tangible to nourish my growth, it's a kind of luck. Subsequently, I said, as a lawyer, you should understand that such a gift would be better with an agreement. He quickly took out an agreement from his briefcase. I originally planned to keep it for you. No need. I took the agreement and casually took a photo of it with my phone in case I lost it later. Then I glanced at him. We don't owe each other anything. From now on, don't disturb me anymore. He covered his eyes with his hand, and when he took it away, his expression was mournful. No. I will always owe you. Not disturbing me is the best way to repay me. With that, I opened the door and got out of the car. I applied for a tutor program in college. And I need to complete the last 2 years abroad. There are still 6 months left for my studies in China. There was a boy who had been chasing me. And I was attracted to him. He came from a wealthy family, was good-looking, and was a top student in the computer department. His future was also promising. What was even more commendable was that although he had been confessed to by many people, he always stayed by my side. With my love-deprived family background and the long-suppressed youthful hormones, I soon accepted him. I've loved wholeheartedly. And even if there's no result, I don't feel regretful. I had no other thoughts. Elise and I walked hand in hand on campus, having a passionate relationship, until one day, I accidentally saw him with his roommate, followed by a junior named Zhao Zhen who had been pursuing him. Suddenly, having fulfilled my upset, I didn't want to go over and say hello. I watched them from afar. Elise didn't spare any attention for his junior. Just as I was about to breathe a sigh of relief, I saw Zhao Zhen's tumble. Elise didn't look at her, but his hand quickly reached out to catch her. Zhao Zhen was on the verge of crying, but Elise just shouted at her, "You're so useless. You can even trip on flat ground. What else can you do?" I turned around and left. How should I bring up the breakup? It was really a headache. Elise noticed my gradual distancing and withdrawal. He was angry but held it in. His anger reached its peak when I refused to attend his birthday party. That day, he came to me drunk and waited downstairs for a long time. But all he got was my message breaking up with him. Happy birthday. At the same time, happy breakup. That day, Zhao Zhen was by his side, trying to tug at his clothes several times. But he shook her off. Zhao Zhen was crying bitterly, but he didn't pay her any attention. Elise insisted that he was not wrong and couldn't understand why I wanted to leave him. His roommate came to enlighten him. Leona seems more mature than us. Could she have noticed something? Elise slowly turned his head, as if he understood. If you were truly flawless, no girl would break up with him. Subsequently, he posted a message on the school's confession wall, expressing his feelings, saying that he only loved his girlfriend and would keep a proper distance from all girls, especially Zhao Zhen. It was said that Zhao Zhen suddenly stopped crying that day. After that, a post saying that I knew someone was in a relationship but still got involved and was a habitual mistress was also pushed to the top. There was a load of fabricated stories about Sincere and me on it. Many of them were really unpleasant. I called the police. At the same time, I was gathering materials to fight back. Just then, Elise found me. He had a stubble on his face and looked haggard. He handed me a lawyer's letter. The defendant written on it was Zhao Zhen, and the law firm representing the prosecution was Sincere's. His expression was complicated, and he said to me with difficulty, "It was Zhao Zhen who framed you. It's been clarified, but can you, for the sake of being classmates, let her go? My mother has always taught me to be lenient. I don't mean anything else. It's just that we shouldn't push someone too hard," I said coldly. "But have you thought about me? If I didn't have the ability to sort things out and couldn't produce evidence, would I have to bear this stigma for the rest of my life?" Elise mumbled. "You wouldn't. You have the ability. And you also have capable people behind you." Before I could say anything, Sincere's voice came from behind. "I recorded what you just said. I originally suspected that Zhao Zhen had an accomplice. And it seems you are." Elise panicked. "I'm not an accomplice. I just heard from others. And I got drunk on my birthday, and said a few more words. And Zhao Zhen overheard them." Sincere said, "Get out of here. Don't appear around Leona in the future. Or I'll see you too." Elise left in a hurry. Sincere said sadly, "The one who truly loves you won't watch you being wronged, and still speak for others." I nodded. "So, I broke up with him very quickly." Sincere's eyes were gloomy, and he seemed to want to say something but held back. Finally, he said, "He doesn't deserve you. Such a young lad doesn't have a mature set of values." I said calmly and inferiorly, "If it wasn't him, it would be someone else." I saw Sincere's face stiffen, and his body swayed slightly. Then I said confidently and cheerfully, "I will always find the right person. I heard that the right person will be waiting in my future." Sincere stared at me fixedly, as if he had thousands of words to say. His eyes were deep, and there were emotions in them that I couldn't understand. Just as I was about to leave, he grabbed my sleeve. "Come home with me. I can give you everything you want. This time, I won't miss the chance." I shook my head, shook off his hand holding my sleeve, and said coldly, "Chance? What chance? There's no chance left between us." There was a touch of despair in Sincere's eyes. I walked a few steps. and Sincere called out behind me. Wait. Then he walked up to me, his face blushing. He took several deep breaths, as if making a certain decision. If I was wrong before. What if my feelings for you were not just family affection, but love? While I was stunned, he kissed me. I never expected this. And I forgot to dodge for a moment. Sincere said happily. Look. I kiss you without any reluctance. It turns out that I've always liked you. I just got too used to the original foster relationship and neglected my true feelings. Is it too late for me to say this now? I vigorously wiped my lips. Between him and me, it was not just a mistake, and it was far too late. I gave him a cold look. Just one look was enough to make him collapse. And he stepped back several steps. I said, but I've already regarded you as a family member again. You know best how disgusting it is to mistake family affection for love. Since you know, don't bring it up again. Because it's really disgusting. His face instantly turned deathly pale. And his body staggered. I finally boarded the plane bound for studying abroad. After all these years, there should be beautiful scenery around me. When I left, I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I just booked a flight ticket and left suddenly. But Elias was still waiting at the airport. He asked me, have you ever loved me? I suddenly laughed. A sarcastic laugh. I should be the one asking you this. He suddenly looked sad. What exactly do you think is wrong with me? I just want to understand. This time, I could laugh more sincerely. You were just a touchstone. Young girls should fall in love so that they can tell us come back from a good guy when it comes to marriage. I waved to him, bidding farewell to my youth and my homeland. When the plane arrived at its destination, I contacted the landlord and came to my residence. Sincere had actually come in advance to help me clean up the house. Everything in the house was in order. And there was even a shadow of my old villa. However, I didn't mind. True separation can never be affected by external things. Sincere excitedly showed me around. I didn't spoil the mood and looked around the new home with him. He had actually occupied one of the guest rooms. And it was already filled with his clothes. From summer to winter. Everything was there. I was a bit stunned. Didn't I make it clear to him last time? Sincere coughed softly. I think you might not be very good at taking care of your life yet. So I plan to help you get started and accompany you for a while. I looked at Sincere in confusion. Since when did he become so thick-skinned? Sincere lowered his head uncomfortably. He mumbled. I'd given you the house and money. And now I'm giving myself to you. Don't reject me. I was shocked. Was he going to pester me? Just as I was about to leave, he grabbed me and pulled me onto the bed with him. Our eyes met. And there was a blazing light in his eyes. The scene I had fantasized about countless times finally happened. Unfortunately, having fulfilled my sigh, I felt nothing. Neither sad nor happy. I suddenly got up and turned to look at him. Believe it or not, all my enthusiasm for you was consumed on that beach. I once had a pure heart for you. But you wasted it too much. Even God couldn't stand it. Let's let each other go. Go back to being family members and keep the last bit of dignity. I'm begging you. With that, I ignored him and took a taxi to the school to go through the enrollment procedures. But my words didn't make him back off. When Christmas came, he came to see me. I was among a group of people. And he walked towards me, holding an expensive gift. The crowd cheered and made noise to egg on. I smiled and said to my classmates, a rich relative in my family likes to play Santa Claus. They then pestered me to introduce him. My smile deepened. My uncle said he doesn't believe in love. When he meets the right person, he just wants to get married. The female classmates said in unison, TSK, and then they all ran away. Sincere stood there stiffly, in a dilemma. During my college years, I pursued a double degree and obtained an accounting license in the Anglo-American system. Eventually, I successfully got a job at a financial institution. After working for 2 years, I transferred to work in Hong Kong. During this period, Sincere's family urged him to get married several times. And he would then inform me. The meaning was self-evident. I told him frankly, don't wait for me. There will be no result. He was 10 years older than me and already 35. I knew the place he came from was quite remote, and his family would definitely not accept his remaining unmarried. But he had dragged it out for several years for my sake. A year later, as a trust manager, I started leading a team independently to take on projects. For the first online meeting to recruit investors, I had to represent the company and give a presentation to more than a dozen big shots, hoping they would purchase our products. I made thorough preparations for this. But something still went wrong. My deputy, Chu Jing, was not content with being my assistant and wanted to undermine me. To achieve her goal, she even resorted to stupid tricks. After I finished my presentation, when it was her turn, she suddenly asked me, "Leona, I heard that you once disrupted the relationship between lawyer Sincere and his fee and key. Don't you think being a mistress goes against ethics and morality?" I knew she had a background and desperately wanted to replace me. But I didn't expect her to be this crazy. However, by this time, I was no longer the Leona who wouldn't fight back on the spot. I took out my phone and showed the photos of the gratitude gifts from Scarlett's family back then, including the gift contract and the check. I said calmly, "I surely know more about my personal relationships than you do. I have a clear conscience. In terms of character, I'm above the average level of ordinary people. This is the proof of my acts of courage." I held up my phone towards the live streaming camera. And I put down my phone and slowly looked at Chu Jing. "I heard that your private life is quite chaotic. What right do you have to accuse me? You're talking nonsense. You're spouting rubbish." She was furious and was about to lash out but was quickly held back by others. The live streaming was forced to stop. I knew it was over for me. Even if I cleared my name, being stuck in this quagmire of right and wrong, I wouldn't be able to make a comeback. I had missed the opportunity. And I didn't know when the next one would come. I could also have chosen not to say that last sentence. To let things slide and let the superiors judge. But deep down, I felt that I should fight back in a timely manner. It was the right response both personally and professionally. However, I was still suspended from work. The reason was that I couldn't manage the team. I was so angry. When they assigned this deputy to me, they should have known what kind of person she was. Now that something had happened, they pushed the blame onto me. I felt quite emotional. The ups and downs of life are really damn exciting. Sincere sent me a message. The best thing to do now is to lie low and wait for an opportunity to make a comeback. An MBA is a very good choice. I replied to him, "Don't worry. I won't be depressed because of this. It's time to test my resilience. I can withstand setbacks and pressure." Back then, Scarlett laughed at me for being lovesick. I was unconvinced. I'm a vivid person. And I like falling in love. There's nothing to be ashamed of. But I also regard my career as my life. I won't give up. After a long time, he called. His voice was choked with sobs. "I didn't know that what happened back then hurt you so much." "I'm sorry." I replied to him calmly. "There's no need to apologize. It's all in the past. All along what I've thought more about is living a good life for myself. Other things are secondary." Over the phone, I heard Sincere sobbing softly. "I'm sorry. I was so wrong. Sometimes I often think that if I had woken up earlier, we would have been the happiest couple. Unlike now, you loved me so much and I loved you too, but we've never had each other. This is the most saddening thing." After another long pause, when I thought the call had been hung up, he suddenly spoke again. "Over the years I've remained chaste. Can this prove my sincerity? Can you give me another chance?" I sighed. "No. I won't look back. Let me go. And let yourself go too. In fact, every time you bring up the past, I feel like I'm on the verge of drowning. Let the past go. I'm begging you." There was a long silence on the other end. To my surprise, the company soon let me return to work. It turned out that a big shot was willing to buy my financial products. I was a bit nervous when I first met the financier. After all, I had made a mess during the online meeting. Maxwell was in his 30s and was a legendary figure. He didn't seem very approachable. He didn't talk much, giving the impression that he was hard to get close to. I thought he would be difficult to deal with. Unexpectedly, he only asked some basic questions. didn't make things difficult for me, and quickly signed the contract. The whole process was so smooth that both my boss and I couldn't believe it. My boss arranged a working meal for us. I don't know what he was thinking, but he only arranged for Maxwell and me. And he didn't arrange a private room in a club, but just the best seat in a Michelin-starred restaurant. When I learned that it was just the two of us, I thought for a moment that Mr. Maxwell wouldn't come. But to my surprise, he arrived on time. He didn't seem surprised about this to pursue me either. With a calm and composed expression. When it was his turn to order, I had a chance to take a good look at him. He had wheat-colored skin, sharp eyes, and a well-defined jawline. His every move exuded competence. The black suit he wore not only made him look tall and straight but also added a bit of maturity and sophistication. While waiting for the food, to avoid an awkward silence, I tried to find topics. "Thank you, Mr. Du, for giving me this opportunity. I will do my best and live up to everyone's expectations." I knew this was just official talk, but I had no choice as I didn't know him well. He didn't mind and casually poured me a cup of tea. I was flattered and quickly thanked him. He put down the teapot and looked at me. "I trust my own judgment. You performed very well at the product presentation that day." "What?" I was almost shocked. "That day, I almost got into a fight." Was he mocking me? With his usual cold demeanor, he said bluntly, "That day I saw that you were clearly in a losing position. But you knew how to drag your enemy down with you. I really appreciate that. You're resolute and decisive. I saw this quality in you." I was almost speechless. Maxwell was a figure that people in the business world looked up to. I was just a novice. What did I do to deserve this? So I sincerely said to him, "Thank you for being my mentor. I feel like my luck is about to change." He smiled. When he didn't smile, he was cold. But when he did, it was like a spring breeze. Since the company used me, it couldn't use my deputy anymore. Chu Jing was not reconciled and blocked me outside the restaurant, confronting me. "Sure enough, you still have to rely on men." From Sincere to Maxwell. "You're not good at building a career. But you're quite good at dealing with men." I had already successfully overcome the difficulties and didn't want any more trouble. So I just let her rage on. I was about to leave this place of trouble when Maxwell stood beside me. He spoke on my behalf. "People like you, a petty person, are really hard to deal with. Telling you to read more books is probably useless. Let me just tell you directly. Trying to undermine others will never make you successful. This is both advice and a warning. If you cause trouble again, don't blame me for being rude." My former deputy's face turned deathly pale. After all, no matter how strong her background was, it couldn't compare to Maxwell's. Maxwell turned to me and said, "Take my car and leave." I agreed. After getting in the car, I felt a bit uneasy. I didn't retort to Chu Jing just now. Would Mr. Maxwell think we can't rely on men? Plus, what Chu Jing said to me just now made me a bit anxious. Maxwell seemed to see what I was thinking and explained for me. Society overly promotes female independence, which is actually a trap. Whether male or female, one needs to learn to leverage and coexist. Everything can be used for one's own good. I nodded, indicating that I had learned something. My cooperation with him was quite pleasant. I helped him earn a lot of money. When I launched a new product for the second time, he bought a large amount of it. With his support, I didn't have to worry about finding buyers for my new products. And I became a rising star. The rumor that he thought highly of me spread quickly. Many people said that I had built my career relying on him. The elite circle is no different from the marketplace. They all like gossip. I wasn't very familiar with Maxwell, but what he said that day, that everyone needs to leverage and coexist, still inspired me. Therefore, I never cared about the rumors and was very calm. Sincere called, and after going around in circles, the topic always leaned towards Maxwell. I didn't pick up on this topic. I had already made everything clear. For now, all I could say was, at the age when you should be in love, you wanted to get married. Now that it's the age to get married, you want to be in love instead. Sincere. Don't be so willful. I'm looking forward to meeting your new wife. I'll definitely send a generous gift then. Could it be made any clearer? I think this should be enough. The Spring Festival holiday was the most difficult time for me. I had nowhere to go. On New Year's Eve, I was still working overtime. When night fell, I walked out of the building. The whole central area was empty. I was more depressed than ever in the year. I walked aimlessly on the street. A car horn sounded behind me. I turned around, and Maxwell slowly rolled down the car window. A rare smile appeared on his lips. If you have nowhere to go, you can come to my place to celebrate the Spring Festival. I was about to refuse when he added, I'm alone too. I got into his car. After chatting casually for a few words, Maxwell suddenly took out a ring from his pocket and handed it to me. I was so surprised that my mouth hung open and I couldn't close it. You Aukliasai. This is too soon. Isn't it? I stammered. Maxwell was literally Kryl Afkant Gap, and said, this ring originally belonged to you. I'm not giving it to you. Many years ago, after you showed courage and got out of the hotel, you took my car. You were in such a hurry that you thought it was a taxi. Then you gave it to me as payment. Don't you remember? It's no wonder. You might not have been able to think about anything that day. I was too surprised to speak. You've kept it until now? He said matter-of-factly. Later, I saw the news and knew that you were the young hero who jumped into the sea to save people. How could I throw away your things casually? So I've kept it all this time. I was so ashamed. I was so embarrassed that I wanted to find a hole to crawl into. What was I thinking? I actually thought Maxwell was going to propose to me. What a fool I was. Sorry. I didn't recognize you. And, I couldn't go on. Maxwell rarely burst out laughing. And he couldn't stop. I was so embarrassed that I wished I could faint on the spot. But because of this incident, I finally got to know the big shot better. On Maxwell's birthday, he invited me to his party. When I was halfway there, the menstrual pain that comes to me every month arrived unexpectedly. I asked Maxwell for leave and tactfully told him the reason. He asked me where I was. Afraid that he might suspect me of lying, I had to tell him the truth. Actually, I had already walked most of the way, and I was not far from his house. He told me to wait where I was, saying that it was not easy to find a pharmacy there, and he would buy medicine for me. I couldn't decline and had to follow his advice. However, I didn't wait in place. I got out of the car and looked for a pharmacy myself. Maxwell found me soon, holding a lot of painkillers in his hand. Take these quickly. The sooner you take them, the less suffering you'll have. I took the medicine with the water he offered. The Western medicine took effect quickly. After the pain was relieved, I asked him, what about your guests? Why did you come out yourself? It would be the same if you sent your assistant. He opened his mouth several times but hesitated to speak. Finally, he said, actually, I only invited you today. I've arranged a yacht. I want to watch the stars on the sea with you tonight. I was stunned. I felt a bit uneasy and apprehensive. He was a man I couldn't handle. I knew that from the first time we met. He was good-looking and wealthy. With just a wave of his hand, a group of young girls would come running. I was really happy at that time because I was truly scared. I was really afraid that some lecherous old man would make extra demands when investing in my project while I was down and out. Although the industry has a clean atmosphere, this kind of situation does exist. When I saw his conditions, I immediately felt relieved. At least I wouldn't be harassed in this regard. He must have abundant resources. Now, although he was reserved, it was also a semi-confession. I was really flattered. I declined politely. Forget it. I'm too ordinary. The country bumpkin can't handle delicate things. You'd better find a fairy-like girl and go to the luxurious beach party with her. His face darkened, and he was filled with disappointment. It was the first time I saw him show his emotions so clearly. Just when I didn't know what to do, I heard him say, okay. Then he turned around and left, not looking at me anymore. I also turned around and walked in the opposite direction. But when I reached the intersection, I started running, circled the place where we had just stood, and just managed to block him at the intersection. His eyes were downcast, and he was shocked when he saw me. I went up with a smile and took his arm. I think if I practice hard, maybe I can also become a fairy. So why give this chance to others? Come on. Let's go and watch the stars and the sea. He was both surprised and delighted. He used his other hand to hold mine and led me to his car. I just wanted him to taste the feeling of failure, and then experience the joy of getting it back. In this way, having fulfilled my obsession, he might cherish this relationship more. I've had several relationships, which have given me some experience. I just want to have some control over him. Although he is in a much higher social stratum than me, the right person will appear in your future. But you also need to be able to handle him. I'm not very concerned about the final result with him, but I hope to stay by his side for a few more years. Meeting someone unforgettable in the best years of my life makes it all worthwhile. As for Sincere, I once said that he was like a mountain standing in my heart. However, when the surroundings turned into a desert, the mountain would also be weathered and finally turn into dust. On my wedding day, Sincere came. He looked haggard and full of worldly tribulations. When he saw me in the wedding dress, he smiled, but it looked uglier than crying. "You're very beautiful," he said with difficulty. I nodded. "I know. All brides are beautiful." He turned his head away, looking so fragile that a gust of wind could blow him away. After a long time, he asked me softly, "Do you want to take my arm and let me walk you down the aisle?" I was really busy at that time, being shuttled around by several groups of people. Hearing this, I just perfunctorily replied, "No need. We didn't do that during the rehearsal. The groom might not know how to deal with it." He lowered his head, as if hiding in the dust. "You're right. I didn't know when he left. From then on, we should forget each other in the vast world. Those days of helping each other through difficulties can never come back."